On the 15th of January 1970, the Biafran War, also dubbed as the Nigerian Civil War, ended. The war, which began on the 6th of July 1967 between the government of Nigeria and the state of Biafra, came to an end, leaving the Igbo people shattered and devastated. During that time, the Nigerian government made attempts to rehabilitate the Igbo people and the region in what was termed No Victor, No Vanquish, and the 3 R's, which stood for Reconciliation, Reconstruction, and Reintegration. Unfortunately, the No Victor, No Vanquish, Reconciliation, Reconstruction, and Reintegration mantra of the then Nigerian government had little or no impact on the reintegration of the Igbo people back into Nigeria. In this video, we will see how the Igbo people survived during the Civil War and how they were able to rebuild their destroyed cities a few years after the war without any external assistance. Welcome to my channel where I share African stories and history. Please like this video for the algorithm, subscribe and enable post notification so you will know when I post new videos. Now back to the story. On the 6th of July 1967, 7 years after Nigeria's independence, the country woke up to the drumming beats of war. The country was going to war against itself. Following the declaration of the secession of the 3 states of the eastern region under the name of the Republic of Biafra by the then military governor of the eastern region, Lieutenant Colonel Chukwuemeka Odumegwu Ojukwu, the government of Nigeria, led by General Yakubu Gowon, deemed the declaration as an act of rebellion, and in response, the government of Nigeria ordered its troops to war against Biafra. This singular military order led to 925 days of excruciating war, bombings, hunger, starvation, destruction, and unimaginable pain that claimed the lives of nearly 3 million people and also left an eternal mark of hatred and stigmatization among the Nigerian brothers who took up arms against one another. Before the war started, the leadership of the Igbo ethnic group felt they could no longer coexist with the federal government dominated by the interests of the Muslim Hausa Fulanis of northern Nigeria. The conflict resulted from political, economic, ethnic, cultural, and religious tensions, which preceded the United Kingdom's former decolonization of Nigeria from 1960 to 1963. Immediate causes of the war in 1966 included a military coup, a counter coup, and anti-Igbo exterminations in northern Nigeria. Within a year, Nigerian government troops surrounded Biafra and captured coastal oil facilities and the city of Port Harcourt. A blockade was imposed as a deliberate policy during the ensuing stalemate, which led to the mass starvation of Biafran civilians. During the 2.5 years of the war, there were about 100,000 overall military casualties, while between 500,000 and 2 million Biafran civilians died of starvation. Properties were destroyed, businesses crumbled, the cities were reduced to rubble, and due to the lack of food, the Igbos had no choice but to resort to eating lizards and other animals for survival. At the end of the Nigeria-Biafra War that raged between 1967 and 1970, the Igbo people as defeated people incurred huge losses in all spheres of life and were forced back into the union membership of one Nigeria. Although the war ended with a no victor, no vanquish verdict, the clear indication that the people lost the war is obvious. An estimated 3 million Igbo people died. About 40% of those killed were Igbo children, either by gunshot or through starvation. Some women carried the burden of shame for seeing their children die on their back and their womanhood being assaulted by the rampaging victorious Nigerian army. The men folks were not left out in the shame of defeat, as many who survived the war were frustrated for the rest of their lives. The people were debased and their sense of dignity was trampled upon, so that somehow life seemed meaningless for those who survived the war. No family did not lose a person or have one misfortune or the other. Those who survived the menace and brunt of the war were roundly devastated. Many wounded and diseased people needed medical attention that was lacking. Besides the human loss and its accompanying shame, the civil war destroyed landscapes and infrastructure, thus leaving Igbo land materially devastated. It put to a standstill any meaningful social and economic activity. Before the Civil War, Igbo land witnessed a great level of development. It was the home of the first university in Nigeria, University of Nigeria Nsukka. Its coal industry and its agricultural ventures were functioning. Healthcare delivery was also functional, but with the war, everything was grounded. Even feats achieved during the war, like locally built petroleum refineries, Uli airports, Obuniwe armored car, and other ingenuities were destroyed and never improved upon by the Nigerian government. The situation of the Igbo people worsened with the immediate expatriation of Christian missionaries in the area after the war by the federal government of Nigeria. This endangered the lives of many orphans and widows the missionaries catered for. The unemployment level was so high, and it was compounded by the fact that only 34,000 Igbo people were reabsorbed out of over 1 million unemployed people in the civil service. Igbo people also believed that some of the laws enacted after the war were made to disenfranchise them in Nigeria, such as the Public Officers Special Provision Decree No. 46 of 1970. With the decree, many Igbo officers who participated in the Civil War on the part of Biafra were summarily dismissed or compulsorily retired. This was against the earlier directive and assurance to the world by the head of state that all officers would be reabsorbed to their former position before the escalation of hostilities. The banking obligation, Eastern States Decree. Banks in the Igbo region were made to pay all account owners a flat rate of £20, irrespective of what they deposited in the banks before the war. The Indigenization Decree of 1972. With this law, Nigerians were allowed to get involved in the country's productive enterprises. Igbo people, because of their post-war situation, felt they were not ready for such exercise and were alienated from the nation's economy. Abandoned property policy. This policy of confiscating properties in the River State by the state government was seen as an economic attack on Igbo people, who fled the state during the war. Igbo land, which used to be one of the 3 major regions of the country, became the region with the least numbers of states of the 6 geopolitical zones in the Federation. Following the war and the consequences as it affected the Igbos, the people realized that no one was coming to help them. So they got up, dusted themselves, and went to work. Every Igbo person, young and old, took it upon himself as a personal responsibility to rebuild their communities and wealth. For those who had the means, they moved to neighboring African countries, while the others moved to other cities like Lagos, all in the search of greener pastures. But as the Igbos moved out, they carried in them the Igbo concept of Onya Alawanea. The concept helped the Igbo people to grow together, even in their adversity. It is a concept that shows that extended family and community are of utmost importance in Igbo land. For this, Igbo people, wherever they see themselves, especially in foreign lands, where they are likely to be vulnerable and far away, see themselves as one, the Igbo word for brother or sister. This concept also gave rise to the one boy concept in Igbo land, where a wealthy man empowers another Igbo son through an apprenticeship program. Like every tribe, the Igbo people may have their vices, but they are resilient, strong, risk takers, and builders. It is okay if you have a contrary opinion about the Igbos. After all, our experiences may differ. But all the same, I would love to see you express yourself in the comments. And also feel free to make contributions to the video so we can all learn from you. Lastly, please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and enable post notification so you will know when next I post a video. Thank you.